Yo, call me a model the way I go full throttle. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are trying something pretty different, and that is going to be ranking every one of Sonic's 3D models. Now, the way we're gonna factor this is by two things. One, how they look obviously in-game when you're playing them, and the in-game cutscenes. So no, I'm not talking about CGI or still images. I'm talking about, how they look within, gameplay, how they look, as a character model, as well as just how they animate in cutscenes. Because I do think in-game cutscenes are a big way to visualize and how to have the team kind of stretch out how they can show the character's expressive movements. Alright, so let's start here with Sonic the Hedgehog. Ooh, where would I put this character model? For me, this one is going to go in Super Saiyan God. Now, the reason I think that is one, I think the long quill approach is fire. It gives a sense of the characters growing up. They're a little more older. We do know the characters in general are also taller in this game, which is really cool. Now, the only reason I wouldn't put it in UI is obviously the in-game cutscenes. The in-game cutscenes are super rigid, awkward, and weird, but as a character model, one, the design of it looks fire, and in the game, like when you're just running through a level, it looks really good. Like, you have Sonic's quills flowing through, you've got a lot of cool movements when he's running forward. I think in game, like in the levels, it's actually a really good character model. I fuck with it heavy. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games on the Wii. Now, for this one, I actually give this one an SS. If you guys look at this one, it's actually really cute and really well made. Now, the game doesn't really have crazy in-game cutscenes to sell you on the character, but when he celebrates him getting a victory, it looks pretty good. And in game, it's nice. I mean, he's a good hue of blue in the game. The quills flow pretty well in a lot of the mini games, and I like it. It's not crazy, it's not bad, it's just right in the middle. It's Super Saiyan. Now, the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Rio style, I would also put an SS. Now, the reason I don't put it higher is because, again, the game doesn't really offer many in-game cutscenes to really flex the animation, but in the mini games, he looks good. And the way this game shines a lot is the victory animations. If you've ever looked up, Mario and Sonic Rio Olympic victory animations, you'll see some cool ones between him and Amy, him and Eggman, him and a few other characters where they just have these cute back and forths, and the character models animate pretty well in game. But again, just the hue of blue he's got in game is pretty good. It's using one of the more modern Sonic styles. I like it. Smash 3DS, honestly, I think also goes in Super Saiyan. I've seen it now. This one, actually, I feel like is better than the Wii U one, because the Wii U one is sort of desaturated and not really in there. In fact, where is the Wii U one? Can I go grab the, the Wii U one I would put in I, because this is where Sonic starts to lose a bit more of his personality in Smash Bros. I think in Brawl, which, we can also rank while we're at it. I think in Brawl, Sonic peaks in terms of how he looks in Smash. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, he's expressive. If you look at his eyes, they animate more. He's got cool expressive movements. Like, I think Sonic in Brawl is the peak of that style. I'm fine. Where's he at? Yeah, I would put the Brawl model in UI for me. He is so fucking cool in Smash Bros. Brawl. But in Smash 3DS, at least he's got that nice little cel-shaded look on 3DS, which looks really good for the character, as opposed to in Wii U and Ultimate, where the character is just desaturated. They took out a lot of his personality and movesets, but he still looks fine. It's not bad at all. Just like, it is just a basic character template of Sonic, as opposed to giving him a lot of expressions and crazy movements. Oh, Sonic Adventure 2, bro. Honestly, fuck it, bro. I'm going UI with this one. I think even Sonic Adventure 2 Battle did a pretty good job of translating how he looks as opposed to Sonic Adventure 1. I think SA2 Sonic is so fucking cool. Now, yes, in-game cutscenes, it can look a little bit awkward because of, they're doing mocap and it's an older game, but I cannot resist but think about how fucking cool this game is. To me, this is where Sonic first really started looking cool. I mean, the quills are longer, the color of blue is way better in there. You've got some crazy cool expressions by the characters, regardless of how awkward it is. Like, there's a lot of dynamic movement in cutscenes, and in the levels, you're doing some cool tricks, you're doing some fire jumps. Like, between the in-game levels and the in-game cutscenes, there is so much variety in the Sonic Adventure 2 model. Even just from City Escape, bro, alone's opening in-game cutscene to go into the level, I adore the Sonic Adventure 2 model. Now, Sonic Adventure 1, I know a lot of people adore, but I'm gonna put in Super Saiyan God, just because this one one falls more in line of like the cute 3D Sonic model, who's very expressive, and I think in game there's a lot of love to have in a level playing as him, but it doesn't really do too much in cutscenes. In fact, in most of the cutscenes, Sonic's just kind of standing still and has his arms ready to fight a lot of the times, and in the levels he doesn't really do crazy tricks or anything too much yet. Like, he's not where he's at yet, but it's a very cute model, very expressive, which is why I would put it all the way up in Super Saiyan God. Now, Sonic Adventure DX model. Now, I know a lot of people dislike this one. I'm gonna put in SS because one, I have nostalgia for it. Two, it is definitely a worse version of the adventure one and ruins a lot of the game in a lot of ways, but I think the model itself is pretty good, and again, still does a lot of expressions, even if it does butcher a lot of the original games. Actually, you know what? Because it butchers a lot of the original games, I'm just gonna put an I, you know, just for the sake of keeping it cultured. Ooh, Sonic and the Black Knights model. Where would I put this? I think this one for me goes in Super Saiyan. Now, the reason for that is obviously it's a Wii game, so it's a little bit more limited, right? And in game, he's fire. I mean, seeing the sword swings is really good. You don't really get a frontal POV of him a lot in Sonic and the Black Knight, just because you're going forward a lot of the gameplay, but he just is a really good character model. The quills move a lot. The color blue is really cool. I mean, him wielding a sword is fucking awesome. I love him with Excalibur's glove. It's really cool to see the cool shit he does with the sword slashes and everything. I think it's a fire design, but there aren't really any in-game cutscenes at all. It really does boil down to the cutscenes being a lot of, you know, the water ink style art, which is fire. I adore the in-game cutscenes in the game, but you don't really get the character model being able to be expressive as much because all the cutscenes are done within, you know, a different art style. Oh, Sonic Colors. I'm also, you know what? I'm going to say Super Sonic. This one, again, a Wii era character model where it looks pretty good, but and the cutscenes, the problem are they're just really stiff in game. Like, they don't really do a lot of cool animations and movements. There is one cutscene later in the game where Sonic's doing some push-ups and stretching a little bit, which looks really good, but for the most part, it's pretty stiff. And in game, the model, I think, looks really good. Again, he's a good shade of blue. His boost effect looks really good. His movements are dope, and obviously with this character model, he's transforming into different Wisp a lot, so you don't get too much of him, but in the dynamic camera, some of the smiles and stuff, I think they do a pretty good job with it. If anything, honestly, I might fuck around and bump it up a little bit. And then the Colors Ultimate one, I would put it in I, because this one butchers a lot of it. It gives him this weird tint. It makes him extremely bright. His eyes are dead for some reason. They like don't move. So definitely a worse version of the character model. And I would put in SS just because it's mainly the same thing, but the in-game cutscenes aren't even remastered. And not only that, but just like I feel like it gets a point down for butchering something. Listen, what this fucking abomination is ass. Kill that with fire. I mean, all the mobile ones, I'm just gonna kind of put in I, because like they're not like really awful. They just kind of don't do anything expressive or crazy. You know, they're just like, they're not offensive, but that's really kind of where they exist. And even in Speed Battle, like the mobile game, they're all, except the baby. The baby I'm killing no matter what, I'm killing a baby. Oh, Sonic the Fighters? I fuck with this one, bro. For me, this one's Super Saiyan God. It is such a charming, nice looking character. Honestly, I might fuck around and put in UI just because for the game Sonic the Fighters it is so adorable, right? It is so low poly. It is so cute. I love the way he swings. You've got some over the top expressions. You've got some really cool animations, and it's all in game, whether it's the in-game cutscenes, whether it's in fight. Like, there's so much time. The big slaps he does, the spin dashes. It is just such a fantastic model. Even if the eyes are a little too big as opposed to his quill shape, I do adore so much about this character model in game. Sonic Free Riders honestly is SSG. Now, in-game cutscenes, really not much to work with. It's still images, but in-game he looks fantastic. I mean, his design is great. His shade of blue is great. The quill length is great. He does some cool tricks. Again, the game is ass itself, but how he looks in Free Riders is fantastic. And if anything, in original Riders, I would put him all the way in UI. In Riders / Zero Gravity, which I think this is the same model, Sonic looks fucking fantastic. He's got longer quills. He's got sick gear on. In game, he looks fantastic. You can see a lot of expressions because of, you know, the tricks you can do in game. In the in-game cutscenes, the character is expressive. It's just, to me, the Riders model is just fan-fucking-tastic. I like when they make the characters a little bit more taller just to allow for more movement options, but it's such a fucking fantastic. I love it so much. Ooh, Sonic Generations. Now, there is a difference between Gen's 3DS and the console version. So, for Sonic Gen's 3DS, this is classic Sonic. I would put him in I'd. If you would look at him, he looks kind of stiff. He looks a little weird. His animations aren't really great. But, honestly, modern Sonic on Sonic Gen's 3DS looks fucking awesome. I love him. He's got cool movement styles. His shade of blue is really cool. The cool size, the boost, everything about him feels way cooler in Gen's 3DS than classic Sonic. And here, and for Sonic Gens on the console, I would give classic Sonic an S. In SS because he looks really good in game. You know, the cutscenes are a little bit stale in terms of what they're doing, but in game they're fire. And Sonic Gen's console version, I think, is SSG. I think he looks fantastic. I think he's expressive. I think he's very cool. Again, the only thing that holds it back a little bit is the cutscenes. I think the cutscenes are very lame and not much goes on in them. But when there is some dynamic movement, like, you know, when you're about to start the fight versus Shadow, you're about to start the fight versus Silver, some fantastic movement and cool looks and styles from modern Sonic in there. So Sonic Lost World on the 3DS, I think SS. I think the model on 3DS looks very cute. You know, it's almost like a chibi, like he's got a good hue of blue. Again, my issues with the game aside, in those, you know, in-game levels, he looks pretty good. There's not much to say else about him except that. And Lost World, honestly, I'm putting him at the same tier, you know, because I think, like I said, with Sonic Lost World, the character model looks good. If anything, he's super expressive. He's super dynamic. You know, you've got the wall runs. You've got some cool in motion. I like how you have the peel out look when Sonic's running is a very good, you know, little touch to the game. But a lot of the character can't really shine a lot of different animations, especially in-game cutscenes, because they're so stiff. I mean, you're just getting cutscenes where Sonic's bantering back and forth. There isn't really any crazy movement. There's one cutscene in the second area, the sand area, where Sonic fights a little bit more, but besides that, it's pretty stale for the most part. Sonic Heroes, dude, honestly, I give it SSG. Now, to me, this character model is fantastic. I love so much about it. I think in-game, it looks phenomenal. The pre-rendered cutscenes, I despise. I think they've got this creepy look to them, but I kind of love in Heroes how Sonic looks a little, I didn't explain, they look almost plasticky with a nice little shine. It's really charming and expressive for the time and for Team Sonic in that game. I don't know, there's something about how they look in-game that is so cool and I think fits the character, and they've got a lot of bounciness to them. You know, there's a lot of squash and stretch like animations going on with it. I fuck with the heroes look heavy. Sonic Rivals for me is I'd. If you've seen gameplay for Sonic here, it's pretty tame, it's pretty rigid. There aren't even in-game cutscenes to flex, but in the levels themselves, I mean, Sonic looks good, but there isn't really any cool tricks you can pull off. There isn't really much besides him running and jumping, you know, and the animations don't look the best, so I'd put it in I. It's not awful. Oh, Sonic R. Now, this one's a tough one for me. I think on the basis of it being really cute and charming, I will put it in SS. Again, it doesn't really do much besides you running with Sonic, but it's a very charming and nostalgic look to it that I kind of fuck with it a lot. I like it. I'm messing with Sonic R style. Oh, Sonic Runners. Actually, for me, Sonic Runners, I'm going to put an SS because, again, if you've seen Sonic Runners gameplay, it has a very nice cel-shaded look for Sonic, but there's nothing really dynamic about it. You are just running forward the whole time and doing some jumps. There isn't any really cool trick systems in there. I think it's really cute, it's really cool, and fits the style of it, but it doesn't do too much for a Sonic 3D model. Rush UI, bro. I adore Sonic Rush's character model so much. Even though it's not, you know, the most full res thing ever, for the handheld it's using, it looks fucking fantastic. The way, especially in Sonic Rush, the original, he almost looks like a sprite, but he's in 3D, which is fantastic. You get cool flexes because he can do the tricks over and over. His boost effect is fire. Obviously, cutscenes aren't the biggest thing in the game, but obviously, you know, you have the iconic clash between him and Blaze at the end. So there are some in-game cutscenes that look awesome, but for the most part, just as a character model, he looks phenomenal. And you know what? Sonic Rush, well, I would put it at one tier a little lower because if you play Sonic Rush Adventure, the game is almost more fully 3D, like they figured it out for Sonic's model, and so he feels a little less stylized, but he's still really cool. He's still doing cool tricks. He's still doing cool stuff, but it's not as perfect as OG Sonic Rushes. Ooh, Sonic and the Secret Rings, no joke. SSG. As much as I fucking hate this game, I love Sonic's character model over here. It looks fantastic. We've got a good shade of blue. The quilling is fire. In game, he looks sick. I feel like the only good thing about Sonic and the Secret Rings is looking at Sonic. He doesn't really have any cutscenes to back him up, so besides that, I would just give him a lot of props for just how cool he looks in here, especially with the flame that pops up in the beginning of a level when you're getting ready. Just a really fucking sick character model for me. Sonic Shuffle, it's kind of just existent. It's not awful, but I think the nature of the game makes him a little more rigid, so there's not really much to go with him. Oh, now this is Sonic 4 episode 1 and 2, so I think this is episode 1. So people despise Sonic 4 episodes 1 model. I think it's I like the cell shaded kind of look they're going for it, but it is a very stiff model in terms of its jumps and animations. The only thing I like about it is it tries to do the figure 8, but it kind of looks a little awkward. I mean, it's not, I mean, it's, okay, whatever, I'll put it in as, fine, whatever. And then Sonic 4, honestly, episode 2, I would put that in SS. It is a significantly better character model. They just straight up go with 3D. His animations are good in-game. All the cutscenes in-game look really dope. It's a really good model and a big step up from, the first game, which I think gives it props. So this is Team Sonic Racing. I mean, I'm just gonna put it in you really don't get much with this at all. I mean, he's in a car the whole time, and he doesn't really jump out or do anything crazy. I don't doubt it's bad. Just, I can't really fucking see him because he's just in a car the whole time. Now, Sega Superstars Tennis, SS. Very cute character model of Sonic. If you've ever seen it in gameplay, in everything in there, there's not really any cutscenes, but a very cute character model nonetheless. Oh, Team Sonic Racing, again, I think it's the same thing. I think this is probably the mobile one, which is I think is also Unleash, though. Perfect UI. That is an incredible look for Sonic from beginning to end, from in-game cutscenes to in levels, how fantastic he looks to how cool he does tricks to everything. He is peak stylized in Sonic Unleashed. I adore it. Absolutely goes in perfect UI for me. No question. Now, Sonic Unleashed is a definite significant downgrade, so I'm gonna put him at because it's a real big downgrade, I think, from the console version, the main console version. And I think he's kind of stiff in the levels. It's not like a bad model, but I think it didn't do too much to show his expressions, whereas in Sonic Unleashed on the console version, the one you're getting in-game cutscenes is the same one you're getting in levels, and he just feels fantastic. Mario and Sonic at the London Olympics, this one is SS. His model is really good here. Some really good movement options that you get from all the different mini games. You get some cool expressions, but again, the game doesn't have too many in-game cutscenes to back it up, but it looks good, so I fuck with it. And then Sonic Chronicles over here, we can go ahead and murder. Now, I actually forgot to talk about Sonic Forces in-game model. First of all, I would give classic Sonic and Forces complete ass, rigid as fuck, doesn't need to be there, awful, awful, awful. And then Sonic Forces on console, I think he is if I were to re-rank it. I think while obviously the game is ass, I think when you're in a level with him, he looks cool. I wish he wasn't as desaturated or, having shorter quills, but I do think his movements are pretty okay and they're not awful, which is why I wouldn't put an ass. Now, Sonic Frontiers, I do know it's an updated version of the Forces model, but I would put it in SS just because I think they do a better job in game of making him look cooler and feel cooler, and they give him a bit more color. So I would give it SS. It's not there yet really where it's at the top of the game or it's climbing the ranks, but I would still, I would put it in SS. I would even put it at the top of SS actually. Who is at the top of as, bro? This baby is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But that's gonna be it for my ranking of these Sonic 3D character models. Let me know which ones are your favorite in-game. And of course, I love you. Make sure to keep on watching these videos. And of course, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.